Discover the amazing, heartwarming transformation hidden for 12 years in this inspiring tale. In a quaint Midwestern town where golden fields stretch endlessly under the vast blue sky, lived Lisa, a single mother carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. At 38, her days blurred together between two minimum-wage jobs, but her spirit never dulled. Each night she tucked in her brilliant 14-year-old son, Ethan, who dreamed of reshaping the tech landscape. She wore a smile that masked her exhaustion and worry about their uncertain future. Little did she know, fate was about to toss an unexpected spark into their lives. One Saturday morning, as golden sunlight poured into their modest home, Lisa wandered into a yard sale filled with discarded treasures. Among scuffed furniture and broken toys, her eye caught an old computer, its dusty case hiding untapped potential. For $20, it was theirs. With a glimmer of hope in her heart, she bought it, believing this relic could ignite her son's passion for coding. Back home, they unearthed the aged computer together, pieces jumbled yet intriguing. "Can we make it work?" Ethan's eyes lit up like fireworks. Lisa, bemused yet captivated, watched as he worked through tangled wires and complex codes. It was as if the old machine breathed new life, beckoning them into uncharted territory. The complexity of it all made her head spin, but she was drawn to Ethan's intellectual fire, the way he expertly navigated lines of code, his fingers dancing over the keyboard. As days turned into nights, Ethan immersed himself in the world of coding, his passion growing like wildflowers in spring. During a community open house, Lisa met Walter, a retired engineer who found joy flipping burgers for the neighborhood. Underneath his apron, he harbored a treasure trove of knowledge. "You know, I used to build apps," he casually mentioned, leaving Lisa hanging on every word. Walter's mentorship breathed new energy into their journey, helping Lisa navigate the unforgiving maze of systemic barriers while offering a comforting presence she had long yearned for. But the whispers of skepticism were omnipresent. Neighbors eyed them sideways, judging their ambitions as delusions of grandeur. Then came the announcement that changed everything. The local high school was launching a tech competition with a scholarship prize so substantial it could alter the course of Ethan's future. "This is it, Mom. My big break!" he exclaimed, dreams sparkling in his eyes. Lisa's heart raced with a mix of pride and anxiety. Could they really chase this dream? The pressure of being both a mother and a provider felt heavier and darker. As the competition drew near, they faced relentless challenges. Ethan's innovative app began to take shape, but resources were scarce, and the ticking clock echoed ominously in their small home. In a moment of vulnerability, they bared their fears, a tight chest and lump in the throat, as they spoke of sacrifices made and dreams not yet realized. The real stakes of their journey ignited fierce discussions about resilience, minimalism, and the elusive American dream. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just a day before the competition, fate intervened. A prominent tech influencer stumbled upon their story and shared it online. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder, rippling across social media. Local activists and tech enthusiasts began to rally around them, but did they just become a fleeting sensation? As they read the multitude of comments and encouragement pouring in, Lisa felt a wave of both hope and dread wash over her. Could they rise above the judgment? Could they prove that dreams born from hardship could indeed lead to a brighter future? As dawn broke on the day of the competition, the air crackled with electricity, thick with the scent of fresh beginnings and last-minute jitters. Lisa paced their small kitchen, the coffee pot sputtering as if mirroring her anxiety. She glanced over at Ethan, who sat glued to the computer screen, his face a mix of determination and uncertainty. "Mom, can you help me with the presentation?" he called, his voice steady but softer than it should have been. Lisa felt a flicker of unease in her stomach. What if their hopes came crashing down? What if today was just another reminder of their struggles? Of course, she replied, forcing a smile while her heart raced. They were in this together, and together they would face whatever came next. As Ethan began to explain the app's features, his words flowed more confidently. It was clear that the countless sleepless nights had solidified his knowledge. The glimmer in his eyes made Lisa's heart swell with pride, momentarily lifting the weight off her shoulders. This was their moment, their chance to prove that they could rise above the skepticism that loomed over their lives. When they finally arrived at the high school, a wave of apprehension washed over Lisa. The auditorium buzzed with energy, filled with students ready to showcase their innovations and dreams. Banners adorned the walls, boasting the names of established tech companies rather than the faces of hopeful kids. In the corner, she spotted Walter, his encouraging nods grounding her whirlwind thoughts. Just as Ethan adjusted his presentation equipment, a loud voice rang out over the crowd, silencing the chatter. Welcome to the annual Tech Expo. Today, we celebrate innovation and creativity. The principal's voice echoed through the room, but the tension grew heavy in Lisa's chest. What if they were outclassed? One by one, competitors presented apps that dazzled the crowd with flashy design and advanced technology. Lisa watched, her stomach twisting further as their ideas, birthed from a cramped home and endless determination, felt small in comparison. Would anyone even care about Ethan's app, which was just a seed of raw creativity? Then it was time for their turn. The spotlight beamed down, exposing not just the nervousness they carried, but every doubt whispering in Lisa's mind. Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped forward, his voice wavering only slightly. My app is designed to help create inclusive online communities. As he spoke, sharing not just the features but the heart behind the project, Lisa felt herself getting lost in his passion, but as the applause faded, something unexpected happened. A sudden blaring alarm shattered the air. A maintenance worker burst into the auditorium, panic etched on his face. There's been a security breach. Everyone needs to evacuate immediately. A wave of chaos erupted, students trying to navigate the packed aisle, filled with confusion and fear. Lisa's heart raced as she grabbed Ethan's arm, the reality of the situation sinking in. We need to get out, she shouted over the fracas. As they pushed through the crowd, disorientation set in. But then, just as they reached the exit, a loud crash echoed behind them. Turning her head, Lisa caught a glimpse of a figure darting across the stage, and for a fleeting moment, she felt a chill run down her spine. Who was it? And what did they want? With adrenaline surging, a decision loomed over them. Should they flee into the safety of the outside world, or turn back and uncover the truth behind the chaos? In that split second, Lisa realized just how much was at stake, not only for their dreams but for everything they had worked so hard to achieve. As the crowd surged forward, Lisa looked to Ethan, her eyes pleading. What do we do? He met her gaze, determination burning deep within him. We have to find out what's happening. And with that, they steeled themselves, stepping back into the fray of confusion. The competition wasn't over just yet, but what awaited them could change everything. What were they about to uncover, and who could be behind the chaos? They edged closer to the stage, dodging frantic students and teachers trying to maintain order. Lisa's heart thudded like a drum in her ears, the chaos swirling around her blurring into a frantic smear of colors and sounds. Ethan gripped her hand tighter, urgency radiating off him, but fear flickered in his eyes. What if it's dangerous? Lisa's voice trembled, laced with worry. Her instincts screamed for them to find safety, to escape into the outside world where everything felt familiar and secure. But Ethan's gaze was fixed forward, unwavering. Mom, I need to know, he said, pushing through the thinning crowd. The air felt thick with tension, swirling around them like a storm about to break. As they made their way to the front, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the auditorium. The noise of panic rose, a sea of frantic whispers crashing against the walls. What happened? Is everyone okay? The questions hung in the air, unanswered. Suddenly, another loud crash erupted, this time followed by a puff of smoke that billowed out from the back of the stage. Gasps filled the room. Lisa instinctively shielded Ethan, her body acting out of pure protective instinct. But Ethan didn't flinch. He stepped forward, staring intently at the source of the commotion. "Shouldn't we go back?" Lisa implored, desperation clawing at her throat. "No, we can't. Someone needs help," Ethan said, determination flooding his voice. He marched on, pulling Lisa along behind him. As they neared the stage, Lisa's breath caught in her throat. The silhouette of a figure emerged through the haze, tall and menacing. "Get back!" Someone shouted, but before anyone could react, the figure launched into the chaos, clearly intent on something or someone. "Who are you?" Ethan called, his brave front tinged with fear. The figure paused, eyes glinting ominously in the dim light. Lisa's grip on Ethan's hand tightened, but she felt an odd force pulling her son closer to the figure's shadow. With a swift movement, the figure produced a device from inside their coat, flashing a high-tech gadget that hummed ominously. Students backed away, murmurs of horror rippling through the crowd. Lisa's pulse raced, her protective instincts flaring. "We have to back off," she shouted, panic threading through her voice, but Ethan moved forward, curiosity outweighing caution. "What is going on? What do you want?" The figure turned, revealing a mask obscuring their features, and for a moment time froze. Lisa felt the world tilt beneath her feet, the air thick with fear and danger. With an unsettling grin, the masked figure raised their voice, amplified by some unseen technology. "Your project Ethan's app, everyone will know it soon, but first, they need to understand the truth." "What truth?" Lisa demanded, stepping protectively in front of her son. In that heartbeat, the figure pulled down their mask, revealing a familiar face shrouded in darkness. "Hello, Ethan. It's been a long time." Lisa's heart dropped. The world around them vanished as realization set in. Who was standing before them, and how did they know Ethan? Every ounce of fear rose in her chest. They were caught in a web of secrets deeper than she could comprehend. As Lisa looked into the eyes of the person revealing their past, one thought echoed in her mind: this was just the beginning. What secrets lay buried, and how far would they go to uncover the truth hidden for so long? Ethan's eyes widened as recognition flickered across his face. "No. It can't be you," he stammered, disbelief washing over him like ice water. Lisa's heart raced. She stepped back, but Ethan remained rooted, drawn to the figure who had once been a ghost to him, a name whispered in the shadows of his childhood. This was not an encounter, not a meeting. It was a reckoning. "Mom," Ethan's voice cracked. "It's..." The figure continued, voice steady despite the uproar. "It's me, Ethan. It's your father." The declaration sliced through the chaos. Gasps of horror morphed into whispers as students and teachers processed the revelation, their focus shifting from the stage to the pair of them. "Dad?" Ethan's voice was hardly a whisper, tinged with a mix of hope and trepidation. Questions begged to be asked, but there was no time. Lisa felt her stomach twist. "You left us. After all these years, you just show up like this?" "Because I had to," the man insisted, stepping closer into the flickering lights, revealing more of his face. The years had changed him, but there was no mistaking those eyes, sharp, calculating, yet filled with an unexpected warmth. "I came for you, Ethan. Things are different now. You need to see the truth." "Why would I trust you?" Ethan spat, fiery defiance firing through him. The warmth he had clung to was slipping away, replaced by a hard edge of reality. "A hack?" One student shouted, confusion battling with fear in the crowd. Others murmured in agreement, their eyes darting between the figure and the two of them. The tension thickened, a palpable buzz of uncertainty. "Listen to me," the man commanded, holding up the gadget that had earlier sown panic. Its hum grew louder, a chilling reminder of the uncertain power he wielded. "The app you created, Ethan, it's more than just a school project. It's a key." "To what?" Lisa shot back, protective instincts flaring stronger than before. "To the future and awakening." He paused, eyes scanning the chaotic auditorium. "People need to understand what's coming. Your app has the potential to change everything." Lisa shook her head, her thoughts racing. She didn't trust this man. Not a fraction. But Ethan. Ethan was looking at him like he might be a lost lifeline, a shard of light dimly flickering through the dark. "My friends and I were working on something big," and now Ethan glanced at Lisa, uncertainty pooling in his eyes. "Now, I don't know what to believe." The figure took a step closer, lowering his voice, as if sharing a secret. "You're in danger, Ethan. They will come for you. You need to understand your power before it's too late." The crowd stirred uneasily, some shuffling back as whispers of betrayal and allegiance twisted through the air. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging the auditorium into darkness for a heartbeat. Gasps erupted, and in the swirling shadows, Lisa felt panic surge. Someone or something was closing in. "Run!" she shouted, grabbing Ethan's arm. "We need to get out of here." But Ethan hesitated, pulled between his mother's instinct for survival and the allure of discovery, a truth wrapped in danger. "Stay with me," Lisa urged, but the choice hung heavy in the air. The masked figure's face flickered with an unsettling smile, shadows dancing dangerously, as a new wave of chaos erupted in the audience. The truth was unraveling, and so was their chance to escape. Ethan looked from his mother to his father, the synthesizing thought sparking a new dilemma. Would he serve to understand the future or protect his own? The walls of the auditorium seemed to pulse around them, amplifying their fears and desires. There was more at play here than just a family confrontation. Secrets tangled in darkness awaited them all, and the clock was ticking. What choices would Ethan make, and would the echoes of the past finally sink their teeth into the present? The auditorium erupted into panicked movement as students scrambled to flee, a chaotic tide pushing towards the exits. Lisa grabbed Ethan's wrist tighter, an instinctual grip that felt both protective and desperate. The flickering lights threw eerie shadows, twisting the faces of fleeing students into ghostly visages of fear. "Ethan!" Lisa shouted above the din. "We have to go now." But Ethan stood like a statue, rooted in the ground, his eyes locked on the man he once called father. "What do you mean, the app is a key?" His voice cut through the chaos, trembling yet fierce, seeking clarity amidst the confusion. The figure stepped closer again, his voice lowered but resolute. "It's not just an app, Ethan. It's a portal to an understanding that can protect you and everyone." "Protect us from what?" Lisa interjected, her heart racing. A low, ominous rumble vibrated through the building, almost like a warning. The man turned briefly, scanning the crowd with an intensity that sent shivers down Lisa's spine. "They'll come for you, all those who don't want the truth to be known. They want to silence you, Ethan." "Silence me?" Ethan's brows furrowed, the spark of anger igniting a flicker of determination. "Who's coming? What's happening?" Before the man could respond, a loud crash echoed through the auditorium. The glazed glass doors at the back burst open, and a group of masked figures stormed inside, their movements fast and calculated. Murmurs of horror swept through the crowd again, but those closest to the entrance backed away in terror, unsure of their own next move. "Get behind me!" Lisa shouted, instinct taking over as she pushed Ethan toward the nearest exit. She knew nothing of this father, and her only concern was her son. A mother's primal urge to protect her child flickered fiercely within her. But Ethan was torn. His father's intense gaze was magnetic, almost pleading. "Ethan, listen to me. They are just waiting for you to make a mistake. You're the only one left." "Enough!" Lisa screamed, pulling Ethan with her. The masked figures moved like shadows, an unsettling grace that filled the space. There was a split second where their eyes locked, and Ethan felt that his father was hiding something. The fear rippled through him. "Mom, we need to go." But his feet were heavy, barely able to break the connection with the man before him. "Ethan." His father's voice cut through like a knife. "You don't understand. If you leave, everything you've built, everything you could be, it's all at risk. They'll take you down if they find you unprepared." "Who will?" Ethan shouted back, voice teetering on the edge of despair, anger mixing with confusion. Just then, the closest masked figure lunged forward, and Lisa barely had time to react. She pushed Ethan behind her, ready to shield him from whatever threat was coming. The figure drew near, but before any violence could unravel, a sharp blue light emitted from the gadget in the man's hand, almost blinding as it illuminated the entire auditorium. "Listen to me." The man yelled again, the urgency crackling through the air. "Ethan, go now. Trust me, activate the app. It's your only chance." The world twisted into a kaleidoscope of chaos around them, but in that moment, clarity struck Ethan harder than ever. He hesitated, emotions clashing within the chance to uncover a long-lost truth against the imminent danger swallowing them whole. "Make your choice, Ethan." His father's voice rang out, drowning under the noise. "If you want to protect the future, you need to choose the right path." The air crackled with tension, and as his heart pounded violently against his chest, Ethan faced an undeniable choice. He could pursue the truth, risking everything, or he could run, treating the past as a closed chapter. Before he could decide, the auditorium doors slammed shut with earth-shattering finality, sealing their fate inside. What lay ahead? A confrontation with his past, or an enigmatic future still hidden in shadow? The moment of reckoning was upon them, and Ethan knew the choice he made might shatter everything he understood. But what if the answer he sought was buried deeper than he dared to dig? Ethan's heart raced as he felt the heat of uncertainty surging through him. The loud thud of the closing doors echoed like a countdown, marking the seconds until decisions would matter. He glanced at Lisa, who was still facing the intruders, fierce and protective. She was his anchor, yet the gravitational pull of his father was hard to ignore. The blue light pulsed in the air like lightning caught in a bottle. It illuminated the masked figures, their expressions obscured but dangerous. The crowd was frozen, whispers rippling through them, heavy with anxiety as if they all shared a collective fear. "Ethan!" His father shouted, urgency thick in his tone. "You can't let them intimidate you. They are afraid of what you can become. Activate the app." But what did he really know? How could Ethan trust the sincerity behind those words? His father's past was riddled with shadows he had tried to escape, but now they were surfacing like dark clouds threatening a storm. A crackling noise sliced through the tense air, pulling Ethan back to the moment. One of the masked figures brandished a weapon, a menacing device designed for more than just intimidation. "Your father is lying," the figure growled, voice distorted by the mask. "He wants to manipulate you." The crowd gasped, fear radiating through bodies like electric shocks. Each student was caught in a fragile web between loyalty and survival. "Ethan!" Lisa urged, pushing against the tide of students still rooted in place. "You have to make a choice. We can't stay here." His father stepped forward, his eyes wild with intensity. "You must trust them. They'll turn everyone against you if you let them. They'll use your app for their own gain." And within the chaos, the truth simmered just beneath the surface. Ethan's mind raced. He thought of everything: the late-night conversations, the hushed warnings, the strange occurrences around the app. He glanced at Lisa again, and in that fleeting moment, he saw her commitment to him. She stood unwavering, determined to protect him, even as danger loomed. "What if he's right?" Ethan whispered, looking down at the phone clasped in his hand. "What if this app really is a key?" The sound of someone shouting broke his concern. "Listen, everyone. We can't let them stop us. It was a voice from the crowd, summoning courage. Another student stepped forward, clearly frightened but fueled by bravery. Ethan, activate the app. We'll stand together, no matter what it takes. The atmosphere shifted as others began to rally, echoing the plea for action. The masked figures responded instantly, their movements becoming erratic. Do it, Ethan. Lisa urged, practically pleading now. You have to choose now between ignorance and fighting for what's right. He lifted his gaze again, taking in the faces around him fearful yet determined. The flickering lights above cast shadows of resolve across their expressions, igniting something inside him. Something buried deep. With trembling fingers, Ethan pressed the app's icon, his heart pounding loudly in his ears. The instant the screen lit up, energy surged through him, a connection awakening that felt ancient and powerful. It was as if the very fabric of the room had shifted, reality bending under his fingertips. An explosive roar filled the auditorium, drowning out all sound. The lights flickered wildly as images began to swirl on the screen, embedding themselves in Ethan's mind, painting a narrative he had yet to truly understand. Ethan, hold on. His father yelled, urgency spiking in the atmosphere as the figures advanced. The light grew brighter, an all-consuming brilliance, washing over everything. Just when Ethan thought he would be engulfed, the blue light twisted and burst outward, sending waves of energy that knocked the intruders off their feet. The auditorium seemed to breathe anew, the air thick with uncertainty yet buzzing with possibility. He had made a choice, but at what cost? As the masked figures struggled to regain their footing, an unsettling realization set in. What had he unleashed? The whirlpool of lights and fear began to settle, but one truth remained: something formidable was coming, and it was now tethered to him. What awaited them outside the theater? Ethan could barely comprehend the power he had accessed, but he knew one thing for certain: the fight had only just begun. The sudden surge of energy reverberated through the auditorium, sending ripples of unease and awe across the audience. Ethan stood at the center of it all, a chaotic mix of fear and exhilaration washing over him. The masked figures lay sprawled on the floor, disoriented by the blast of light. Their weapons slipped from their hands, clattering against the ground, evidence of their diminishing power. Ethan looked around, making eye contact with Lisa, whose eyes sparkled with both fear and admiration. She was right beside him, ready to fight, ready to support him in whatever came next. But the reality of their situation crashed against him like a tidal wave. The air was thick with uncertainty, and he could feel the weight of expectation press down on his shoulders. Is everyone okay? He shouted, breaking the spell of silence. The crowd blinked back at him, still frozen, still processing what had just unfolded. Whispers began to ripple through like a wildfire as students braced themselves for what was about to happen next. We need to get out of here. Someone yelled, breaking the daze. No. Ethan called out, his voice steady, though his heart thudded in his chest. We can't let them regroup. They'll come for us. The masked figures began to rise, shaking off the daze. A low growl emanated from one of them as they glared at Ethan and Lisa, determination igniting in their eyes. Each step they took seemed to amplify the tension in the air. Look at what you've done. You don't even know what power you have unleashed. One figure shouted, their voice crackling with fury. Ethan felt a pang in his chest, fear gnawing at the edges of his resolve. What if he had released something terrible? What if it was more dangerous than the figures threatening them? No. Lisa's voice cut through the chaos. Ethan, this is your moment. Don't let them talk you down. Her conviction fueled the fire inside him. The memory of his father's words flooded back about the responsibility that came with this power. It was time to embrace it. In a split second, the energy around him sparked again, vibrant and alive. Images flashed in front of his eyes like a montage, memories of late nights, whispered warnings, and shadows lurking just beyond his reach. He could visualize pathways opening, every possible direction branching out like a web. Ethan. His father's voice surged through the confusion, urgency returning to his tone. You have the ability to protect them. Don't hesitate. The masked figures lunged forward, swift and relentless. The crowd gasped collectively, instinctively backing away. Ethan's heart raced as the energy sharpened around him, igniting a boldness he never thought he possessed. He raised his hands as if reaching into the air, focusing on the blue light that had come from the very force he unleashed. With a fierce whisper, he called upon that energy, feeling it respond to his command. The light enveloped him, absorbing his fears and doubts, multiplying his resolve. I want to let you take them. He shouted, his voice firm. The overwhelming light surged once more, exploding out in all directions like fireworks on a moonless night. The blast caught the attackers mid-stride, halting them in their tracks. An unseen force lifted them off the ground as Ethan channeled every ounce of bravery he had. The crowd screamed as the masked figures were thrown against the auditorium walls, flailing helplessly. Gasps and shouts filled the air as Ethan steadied himself, eyes locked on the blast of power shooting forth. He felt the room shift, reality molding around them as if the universe itself was responding to his call, but then the world began to tremble, and he felt it, a dark force creeping back like a shadow, returning from the depths. Panic surged within him as cracks formed along the walls, and the auditorium started to shake. He had called forth something great, but without control, could it turn against them? Ethan! Lisa shouted, a mixture of fear and support etched across her features. You have to harness it before it consumes you. As the shadows threatened to envelop the light, he had to choose, give in to fear or find clarity amid the chaos. He narrowed his focus, hearing the muffled voices around him. Was that his father's voice calling out, urging restraint? Or was it the other figure, coaxing him to let go completely? Time froze as he reached down inside himself, searching for the answer among the noise. And then, it hit him, an undeniable truth that knotted in his gut. What awaited him at the edge of that choice? What would emerge from the chaos when it finally broke free? The ground quaked beneath him as he prepared to confront whatever was coming next, ready to embrace his fate or watch it swallow everything he cared for whole. The air crackled with tension, vibrating with the energy that Ethan had unleashed. He felt it surging and swirling around him like a living creature, a wave ready to crash with ferocity. His palms tingled as he struggled to keep his footing, the cracks in the floor widening beneath him, threatening to swallow him whole. Ethan! Lisa's voice broke through the chaos, urgent and clear. You have to focus. Picture it. Picture what? He didn't know what to envision. Control felt distant, like a mirage just out of reach. He pictured the auditorium, the terrified faces of his classmates. This was not just about him anymore, it was about everyone counting on him. With gritted teeth, Ethan closed his eyes and took a deep breath, centering his thoughts. The energy pulsed around him, a storm trying to break free, urging him to let go. Instead, he clenched his fists, digging deep for the calm he so desperately needed. His father's voice echoed again, a steady anchor in the chaos. You can be a shield, Ethan. Remember that. Suddenly, a growl shattered his concentration. One of the masked figures regained its composure and lunged forward, eyes blazing with rage. The fleeting fear ignited a protective instinct deep inside him. Ethan opened his eyes, focusing on that creature as it broke free from its restraints, charging like a freight train. Do not underestimate me. He shouted, channeling the energy swirling within him. He felt it coalesce, fiery, bright, and blinding, feeding off his convictions. The figure hesitated, clearly unnerved by his defiance, but fury overtook caution. It lunged again, its speed terrifying. The crowd shrieked, and Ethan's heart raced dangerously fast. He needed to act, now. He thrust his hand out, and to his shock, the light expanded outward, forming a barrier just before the figure collided with him. The figure slammed against it but couldn't break through. Sweat beaded on Ethan's forehead as he fought to maintain the glowing wall. Keep them back. Someone yelled from the crowd, panic palpable in their voice. The urgency spread like wildfire, fanning the flames of his resolve. Don't stop. Hold on. Lisa's encouraging shout reached him, pushing him to dig deeper. Ethan felt the energy responding, pulsating stronger as he gathered his thoughts. He visualized each student behind him, their faces now etched in his mind. Fighting for them, the hope, the fear. No more hesitation. He pounded the ground with one foot, and the shockwave rippled out, resonating with every heartbeat. The auditorium shuddered, and the shadows holding back the light started to recede. With every ounce of strength, he shouted, "Leave them alone." In that instant, the energy shot from him, a brilliant beam of light cutting through the darkness. It clashed against the masked figures, illuminating their horrifying visages for a split second before casting them back, knocking them down as the beam splintered around the room, but the power came at a cost. Ethan felt the backlash, the energy fraying at the edges. His vision blurred, and he stumbled back, clutching his head as pain lanced through him. "Ethan!" Lisa reached out, grasping his arm to steady him. Her face twisted with worry, as other students closed ranks, rallying near her. Then came a voice, cold and sinister, echoing from the shadows. "You think light will conquer darkness?" How naive! Ethan's heart sank as darkness pooled at the edges of his vision, the comforting light flickering. The masked figures were stirring again, angrier this time and more resolute, relentlessly fighting against the light. "What have I done?" he whispered. The fear crept back in, clawing at his confidence, but beneath it, a small flicker of resolve glimmered. He couldn't let this be the end. As the shadows lunged, he felt time freeze. Everything rested on this moment, the boundary between fear and strength, between light and darkness. Could he harness the energy once more? Or would it consume him entirely? Ethan glanced at the battered figures rising to their feet and then back toward his friends, who stood resolute. Determination written all over their faces. "Fight or flight, Ethan," he muttered to himself, steeling his nerves. "This is your choice." But as he prepared to harness the light again, the ground rumbled ominously beneath him, and dread wrapped around his heart. What ancient force was awakening in the shadows? What power lurked behind those masks? And thus, in a world trembling on the brink, the fight for their lives loomed. Ethan's heart pounded against his ribcage, a frantic drumbeat echoing in his ears. Each masked figure around him was rising, their silhouettes tapering ominously as the shadows twisted and writhed with sinister intent. "Ethan!" Lisa said, her voice fueled by fear but also undying faith. "You can do this. We believe in you." Her words struck deep, igniting a spark within him. He thought of the lives behind him, their faces, the laughter, the dreams, all hanging in the balance. It wasn't just about the fight anymore. It was about standing firm against the dark tide that sought to engulf them all. He inhaled sharply, drawing in strength, cradling the energy within him like a precious flame. The shadows, as if sensing his resolve, lunged in unison, their growls a cacophony of malevolence. Ethan squeezed his eyes shut, channeling everything he had into that glowing barrier. He thought of hope and defiance, letting them swirl like a cyclone in his mind. With a roar louder than he believed he could muster, he pushed outwards. The beam of light flared from his hands, brighter and stronger than before, surging like a sun breaking through a stormy sky. The masked figures hesitated, the light refracting off their dark forms, revealing glimpses of twisted features and hollow eyes. "Back!" he shouted, feeling the energy pulse with each syllable. An invisible force surged from him, and the auditorium trembled, shaking the dust from the rafters, but that power came with a toll. A wave of dizziness crashed over him, blurring the edges of his vision. He staggered, his knees momentarily giving way as an overwhelming ache throbbed inside his skull. Just then, Lisa's hand found his. She gripped his arm tightly. "You're not alone, Ethan." Her unwavering spirit was a lifeline, pulling him back from the brink. Ethan's pulse quickened again. He opened his eyes to see the figures faltering, their hate-filled eyes shifting away from him, like moths to flames. They were stronger together. Lisa, his classmates, all standing steadfast behind him, a shield against despair. What next? Ethan struggled to voice, gasping for clarity. The shadows were relentless, reshaping and reforming as their rage grew. Each time he pushed a barrier outward, it felt almost like it would fold in on him, sucking away his essence. Focus on what they are afraid of, Lisa urged, her urgency mixing with adrenaline. Fear feeds them. Picture the light as something they can't touch. Something they want to escape. At that moment, a figure erupted from the darkness, larger, more menacing, its mask grotesque and twisted. It pointed, a gloved hand index stretched towards Ethan. "You'll pay for this." The voice was a raspy whisper, like nails scraping across glass, laced with anger. "Don't listen." Someone from the ranks cried out, the fear in their tone turning to fierce determination. "He needs our strength. Together." Ethan felt it, a surge of warm energy from his classmates. The whispers, the support unfurling around him like roots digging deep into the earth. Every voice mixed with his own, lending him power. The ground shook with greater intensity, the ceiling groaned, and a rattle echoed through the auditorium as shadows quaked in fear. Ethan's eyes blazed as his resolve shifted into a furious blaze. If they were afraid, he would show them why. "Stand with me," Ethan roared as he concentrated, forming the energy into something tangible. And in a startling moment of clarity, he reached for the deepest shadows. He wanted to understand them, to drive back that darkness from whence it came. With renewed strength, he spun the energy around him, forming a cyclone of light. "Leave. You don't belong here." But just as the figures began to whirl backwards, Ethan felt the tug of something greater, a force deeper than any fear he'd known. An ancient shadow pulsed at the back of his mind, dark and primal, whispering of secrets better left obscured. He froze, breath hitching in his throat. This was not merely a battle for light. Was there an unfathomable truth lurking within those masks? Something he might discover. If he delved too deep, the shadows screamed, and the darkness of the auditorium loomed larger than ever. As the wind of the cyclone nodded around him, Ethan realized this was his moment. Could he wield both light and shadow? Or would both consume him whole? Ethan stood with his heart thundering against his ribs, grappling with the chaos swirling around him. The shadows writhed, hungry for the energy he had unleashed, their distorting forms flickering in the incandescent light. He felt the warmth from Lisa's hand, grounding him amidst the torment. "Ethan, focus," she urged, her voice steadying his racing thoughts. The solidity of the moment hit him. He was not just battling shadows, he was carving a path for his future, for those who stood alongside him. He remembered the faces of his classmates, their fears, their hopes, and their collective belief in him. This was bigger than anything he had imagined. This was family, this was community, and he would not let them down. With a surge of determination, Ethan clenched his fists and faced the shadow that towered before him. "You don't own me," he shouted, his voice echoing into the depths of the chaos. The shadows recoiled, but he could sense their anger, a churning mass of resentment and darkness that sought to reclaim dominance. The primal whispers tugged at him again, secrets beckoning him from the fringes of his consciousness. But he was stronger now. Now, he understood that uncertainty could be a weapon, a shield. "I know the truth," he cried aloud, his voice gaining strength. "I know who I am." The realization flowed through him like fire, awakening something deep within, fueling his resolve further. Ethan expanded the luminous energy, transforming it into a brilliant dome. The shadows screeched, shrieking their disdain as they collided against his newfound barrier. Beyond the instant terror, shadows darted to trap him, taunting him with the fear of unknown futures and hidden truths. But he refused to buckle beneath their pressure. "Together," he urged the crowd. "Channel your strength into me." And like a radiant wave puncturing through the gloom, the collective determination flowed into him. The light blazed brighter, vibrant and alive, enveloping the auditorium as Ethan reignited their fighting spirit. The larger figure, still struggling, shot vengeful glares, rattling under the power Ethan commanded. Yet, he could see now the darkness was terrified. They had fed off doubt, but as he recalled the faces surrounding him, he ignited feelings of resolve and togetherness in every crevice of his mind. "You want fear?" he bellowed, channeling the energy through him. "Then let it be this. Fear of losing what truly matters." The chilling shadows paused, hesitating as the brilliance of light pressed them backward. Ethan focused, deliberately crafting his energy into blasts of hope that collided with the pulsing darkness. With every pulse, he envisioned his future, a future filled with creativity, knowledge, and dreams thriving without fear. As the echoes of courage filled the space, the masked figures convulsed, their forms dissipating into wisps. "No!" The larger figure roared, disarray illuminating its features, a mask twisted in agony as the light pierced through its core. The shadows bent and twisted, growing weaker under Ethan's willpower. "You can't silence us!" he shouted, his voice unwavering. "Not anymore." In an explosion of light, the shadows burst back, giving way to the brilliance of hope that enveloped the auditorium. The echoes of laughter and determination replaced fear, the cheers of camaraderie roaring like a tide that swept through the chaos. With that final surge, the shadows unraveled completely, vanishing into the nothingness from which they came. Silence fell, allowing Ethan's heart to beat against the stillness, every ounce of air stilled to catch the moment. It was done. His classmates surged forward, a whirlwind of support and relief as they enveloped him in a rallying embrace. Lisa cupped his face in her hands, tears shimmering in her eyes, mixing pride and gratitude. "You did it, Ethan. You faced them." Knowing it wasn't just about overcoming fear, but about human connection and resilience, Ethan glanced around the auditorium, the once chaotic arena now a place of laughter and hope. "We did this together," he exclaimed, "they're united." Strength sparkling in each eye, but there was still one final task, facing his father. There was more to understand, more waves to settle before their journey could end fully. He turned, locking eyes with the familiar face still draped in shadow, but softened by the defeat in its gaze. "Why?" Ethan ventured softly, curiosity butting against caution. "Why now?" His father's shoulders sagged under the weight of unspoken truths, the mask slipping slightly as vulnerability poured into the air. "Because it was time to save you from the shadows I succumbed to years ago. I didn't realize it until now." As the pieces began to fit, revelation washed over Ethan, clarity painted anew against the remnants of darkness. "Let us make this right," he offered, hope burgeoning between them. And just as clarity loomed, understanding spoke. One thread from the past could weave into a fabric of hope for the future. With arms raised, and hands clasped tightly, they took a step forward into a brighter day, one filled with possibilities and the irresistible strength of unity. And as they stepped out into the light, one undeniable truth remained: this was just the beginning of their story. Now, coming to a close, let us not forget this was an incredible and wild ride. So, if you want to keep up with more amazing stories like this one, you need to subscribe now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Smash that like button to show some love and help us shine brighter in this big ol' world of algorithms. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments with your thoughts, reactions, and your wild theories about the future of Ethan and his family. Don't wait even one more second. Hurry up and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this heart-pounding conclusion for themselves. Thanks for being part of the journey. The best is yet to come.